Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm still in the UK, not on the front lines yet.
Yeah.
It's not happened. Might happen. It's, I think we're still on the brink of war, we're not at war.
Yeah, like it's a weird one though, isn't it? Because it feels a bit like what it would have been like to live during like the Cuban Missile Crisis. In terms of like, there was like a genuine 2-week period where they were basically told at any moment we could all die. And maybe we're not quite to that level, but it feels like it could be a bit similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, I said the other week, I genuinely feel like I'm in 1914 and I can see everything happening around the world and be like, we're going to war.
Yeah.
Like we are going to a world war.
Do you think that's actually likely though?
Yeah. Warfare's changed a lot.
I don't know.
Warfare's changed a lot and the way war is conducted.
So do you think it could be a war but a different type of war, or do you think it's going to be boots on the ground?
I think we are heading towards boots on the ground world war. I'm not saying it can be averted.
The only problem with that though,
it's not inevitable.
Really dark, really early, is Russia has like really clear, unambiguous rules about what would make them use nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
and like any threat to the mainland of Mother Russia is one of the.
Oh look, absolutely, and I might say
so
but
me,
also
like,
it's total annihilation. If they launch a nuclear weapon, they are also going to have a nuclear weapon launched against them.
Yes, it means we're all dead.
So yeah,
but so what do we do? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think nuclear weapons will come into play, but I do think we're on the verge of an actual boots on the ground war.
While we're talking about nuclear weapons, I heard something interesting the other day, and I didn't know about this. Do you know Operation Trident, our nuclear program?
Well, I thought you were going to talk about my sex life, but sure.
Is that?
Well, I thought we were talking about nuclear weapons.
You call it Poseidon's Trident, do you?
I call it. It's got many names. Each different. I've got different women in different ports,
well, and
they all call it different.
Hard. Give me 3 names.
Give me 3. Well,
other than Poseidon's Trident,
obviously the hammer.
The hammer.
The hammer.
Not the white hammer. You want to keep it ambiguous.
I just feel like we're past that point. 2004 we could have called it. Well, not 2000. I was like 12.
It's got darker.
But what I'm saying is there was a time where you could have got away with calling something a white hammer, in the same time that you could have got away with calling Sean Wallace on The Chase the Dark Destroyer. Whereas now,
is he not called that anymore?
Well, no, he is. But I feel like if he was cast now, they'd probably avoid
just the Destroyer.
Yeah.
Why do we need to name?
There's no need for the
the
extra bit.
The Destroyer has other implications.
The Destroyer, coincidentally, one of the names.
He kills that puss. Do you know what I mean?
One of the names for mine.
The what? Sorry,
the Destroyer.
Okay, you do call it the Destroyer.
I do sometimes. Well, I don't. I just want to be clear.
None
of these names are from me. Yeah.
It's impressive. You've not been together that long, so it must be quite impressive for her to have come up with so many different names.
You could have just stopped there. It's quite impressive. That's all you know.
That's also what she just calls it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just quite impressive.
Sometimes she can't even get any words out. Do you know what I mean?
She's so shocked by what she's saying. Yeah. Play the disgusting one.
Disgusting!
I like it. To take it back to nuclear weapons for a second.
Sure, Operation Trident, yeah.
And Operation Trident. I thought we had it was ours. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't. It's not. So we have nuclear capabilities, right? But we pay for the privilege to basically lease it. So it's the Americans' technology, basically.
Oh, the patent. Sorry, yeah.
But
I know what you mean.
We can't operate them without the Americans say so.
Well, that's the problem of us having this special relationship.
And we
over
pay
the
them
last
$100 billion a year
50,
for that
60
privilege.
Years.
So is there actually any point of us even having nukes? Do you know what I mean? They're not really a deterrent, because as long as America's on your side, we're not going to use them against you.
Yeah, but is America on our side?
No, I mean, if America's on the side of the person we're not happy with, the nuclear threat doesn't work, does it? Because America's going to be like, well, no, but we like them as well as you.
No, but granted, we're not the only nuclear power.
Oh, no, far from it. But we're not a nuclear power. We're a nuclear power if America allows us to be one. But, so, it's just, what are we just doing that for image? We like the idea of having nukes? Do you see what I mean? The Prime Minister couldn't, without Donald Trump say so, I suppose, now.
Surely there's an override, though, where if we're at war with America, it comes into play.
That's not the way it came across, though. What? No, I think if we were at war with America, we just don't have nukes.
I feel like there'd be a way to override it.
I don't know. It's not the way it sounded. But anyway, it just feels like we're in a situation at the moment of like, all right, so say we go to war with Russia. What happens if they drop a nuke? We're all dead.
I don't think nuclear weapons will. Obviously, there's always the threat of nuclear weapons, and all sides will talk a big game, Putin in particular. But I think there'll be boots on. Like I said, it's not inevitable, but I think we feels like we're heading towards boots on the ground war. But Russia, I don't think nuclear weapons would be used on any side.
I hope not.
Drones, missiles.
I think
definitely,
because of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I could be wrong about this, that basically what that came down to was two men in like opposite sides basically being afraid of using them.
Yeah.
And like JFK apparently had was it JFK?
Well, during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Was it JFK?
I couldn't tell you when it was. If
it
was
like
1965, it would have,
I feel like it was JFK, or whoever it was, the American president at the time.
Surely it must have been Lyndon Johnson.
I feel like when I heard the story, it was JFK.
I'm going to look it up.
Because there was the whole Bay of Pigs thing, and...
You can keep talking, by the way. Oh, 1962, yeah, so it would have been JFK.
Cool. So JFK's in the room, and basically everyone's saying to him, like, no, you need to strike Cuba, and you need to do it now. And he knew if he does that, Russia are going to retaliate, and we're all dead. And basically he had the realization, he was shit scared basically in the room, and was like, I don't know what to do. And it suddenly clicked in his head, well, if I feel this way, so does the other side. Someone on the other side. And that's what ended up, he then back channeled to negotiate, and it all sort of resolved. But I feel like because that happened once, we assume that will always happen.
Well, there's also the famous story, I know it's not high ups, but with the Russian nuclear sub, wasn't it, when they got, their systems were saying that a nuclear missile was incoming.
Yes, and it was only because the guy
was like, that doesn't seem right. The captain of
the
submarine, was like, that doesn't feel.
And he couldn't get communications out and couldn't. So he ended up waiting. I think it was like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
and then it turned out it was a glitch. But if he'd have followed protocol,
we'd have all been dead.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, nuclear war aside.
And look, by the way, I'm not arguing that I would like nuclear Armageddon to happen, but I don't want us to just. What I am on board with is most of the time with these things, whether it's nuclear war in general, or an asteroid hitting the Earth, I have no fucking control over whether that happens or not. So 99% of the time, I don't worry about it. Do you know what I mean? But when I do think about it, it's like, fuck it, it could. Like, we're not that many steps away.
It could. I'm not that worried about it. I don't think it will.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if war's a certainty, it's far more risky. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the chances of it being used increase, but I still
think
don't
the
think
only way
will.
really to avoid it is if we're going to put boots on the ground, it's to repel Russia from Ukraine.
Because you've got to look at it this way, right? If you're Russia as well, like looking to expand the empire, so to speak, and you use nuclear weapons, even if the other, first of all, you use a nuclear weapon, they use a nuclear weapon, you're all dead, right? But even if they don't, you're going to claim what? Land that's contaminated and infected, and you can't actually go near for the next 80 years or 100 years. I know,
but I always think of the line from The Dark Knight, and look, I'm not saying that's a thing to base your assessment of geopolitics off of.
I often do,
but the Michael Caine line of like, some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
And some men, like Putin, could be, I'm not saying this is what he is, but we know he is a tyrannical dictator who will kill anyone
he is, but
to hold on to power. So
but he wants to hold on to power. He doesn't want to kill himself. If he uses it, that's fucking...
Someone like that could make the decision of, well, if I'm not going to be able to keep power, I'll just end all of it.
And that's a possibility.
Do you know what I mean?
If the war's turning. But you've also got to look into the fact that if we do start a war, how long does it last? Because
it's going to last a while.
Putin is not young.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I know he's got access to the best medical care in Russia, and they've got the most chances of living as long as he can, but he's not a young man.
No.
He might die before the end of the war.
Well, there's always rumours about his health, to be fair.
Yeah.
So...
Anyway, do you know what? We've had such fluffy chat before, and as soon as we hit record, we were like, what if we all die?
You're the one who introduced the impending nuclear war.
All I was saying is we've not yet been called out to the Donbass.
No, we haven't. Although we did talk about after the pod that it's quite likely, because of my weight and your asthma and our age, we might be lucky and...
We wouldn't get infantry, we wouldn't be...
I feel like we're underplaying what a government, like if we actually went to war. Like, we haven't got a large army.
Well, I'm not being funny.
And it takes hundreds of thousands.
I'm not being funny. If you're, in terms of like mind games and stuff and the psychological edge you can get, if you're on the Russian side and you see me and you walking towards you, you think, guys, we've won this war. Let's scrape in the barrel. They are sending out.
How dare you?
Especially when they
need
puff out the old
is a
puffer.
Mulan montage of I'll make a man out of you.
Yeah, okay.
And like me, like we've seen it, you know. Let's get down to business.
It could happen.
And all I need is a 5-minute montage of us like climbing over some stuff, running some hills, and we're ready. Do you know what I mean?
But if I look over the other side and I see, you know, a balding man whip out an asthma inhaler, I'm thinking, Christ, they're desperate.
Yeah.
This war's ours.
Yeah.
Even though I myself am now a balding man who could whip out
an
asthma inhaler. I just, do you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. It's a real obsession of mine in the last 6 months or so. There was a photo taken of me, and it was absolutely bucketing it down.
Yeah.
And we were at the Albanian border. I think we were at the border with Croatia.
For a second, I thought the story was made up, and then I remember the job you did. I was like, oh no, he probably was at the Albanian border.
And we were sitting there waiting, like we
were close to the motherland.
We bribed the guard. You know, we bribed the guides, as is standard.
Is it genuinely? How often do you have to bribe?
Every time you go through. Otherwise, you sit there for hours.
Right. Okay. How much is the bribe?
Well, this is the thing. I'm very lucky. It's changed in the last few years because you used to have to give them like a few, like slip them a couple of bottles. But it's basically rather than them checking every passport and entering it in the system and bringing you forward and doing all the checks and stuff, what you can do is you can give them a list with all that information on it.
Right.
And they won't do any check. But if you used to be, you give them a list with like a bottle of beer or a bottle of wine, and they just take the list and enter it later. Or if they even enter, I don't know what they do with it.
How do they carry it all home though?
Well, here's the thing. Now, I don't know whether
like just one. I
don't know whether people were turning up drunk on the job or something. But now they can only accept water.
Really?
So now you just give them a bottle of, and like one of the guys flat out asked this time because I'd
just give them a fiver
I'd given
each.
I'd given them to like a couple of the guards, a couple of the crossing guards, and then one of them was just like, do you have, you know, a bottle of water? And I was like, yeah, there you go. And then he was like, yeah, okay, go through.
I'm all for.
I'm lucky. Bottle of water's easy.
I'm all for. No, but that almost seems like, what's the point? Like, why
Power
do you
play?
Is it though?
I don't know.
Like,
maybe it's just because you're treating them nice and they think, oh, this guy's all right.
No, but like,
definitely didn't used to be the case.
The couple of bottles of beer I understood, but even then, like getting that off of everyone just seems a bit ridiculous.
Well, you get it off. It's more for the coaches.
I don't know. Oh, right, okay, because it's more admin.
Because it's more people. Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah, but the bottle of water. I mean, I don't know how many coaches.
But also, if you give them a bottle of beer, as much difficult as it is to carry back, they can take it back and sell it on. But do you know what I mean? Or if you give them cigarettes,
it was just a fiver, I'd be like, all right, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? A few coaches go through that's a night out. Do you know what I mean? Like you can
quite easily in some of the disrespect.
But that's what I'm saying. If you gave them a crisp £5 sterling, like it's not worth a lot in our country, but in theirs, you're buying it's like the scene in Eurotrip.
Yeah. Oh, rippers, like, by the way.
I will open. I know. I thought it was a good way to segue into it. I will buy my a nickel.
I'm going to open a hotel.
I should open my own hotel.
Yeah, but anyway, so he was at this border, pissing down, and there's just like a few stray dogs wandering around.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting on the steps of the coach,
Didn't
petting
give
this
them
dog.
More, though, did you?
Petting this dog. And one of my passengers took a picture because it was like a sweet moment. And they were like, look at this, it's so sweet.
That dog's dead
and
now.
all I could see, bald spot.
Oh, on your head.
Huge bald spot. I know it had been raining and stuff.
Fuck,
all
I
I could see
was
right on the crown, just a nice gap of skin.
Yeah.
And I've just been obsessing over it ever since.
The thing is, I think it's in the past. I was always like very bullish about like not worrying about those aging things of like balding or like I'm quite lucky. I think I've got a tiny bald spot right at the back because I'm quite tall.
No one can see it.
Well,
that's the thing. I'm sure everyone can see it. Listen, where is it?
So many of you say to me, "Wow, you're even shorter in real life."
I like the fact you did the hands for him.
They're looking down not just figuratively, but literally looking down on me and seeing
the bald spot.
The thing is, I keep it's become a thing because Steph gets really annoyed with me because what I will do is
in general, or
yeah, I actually have a very annoying personality, as I'm sure most listeners will have clocked.
I won't hear it, mate.
But yeah, every once in a while it just plays on my mind, and I just sort of lean forward and I go, "Look, tell me how bad it is." Like, look at the bald spot and tell me how bad it is. And
what show is that in where someone has a hair check? Do you know what I mean? Oh,
maybe New Guy. It sounds like a Schmidt thing.
It might have been,
but I don't know.
No, I can't remember.
But I literally, and she's like, but the problem is she says like it's not that bad. What I want to hear is it's not there and I can't see it.
No, but she'd be lying then.
No, I know. And
so what you're asking for is the same courtesy we give women when they ask us questions like, "How do I look in this?" And it doesn't matter how she actually looks. The answer
you've given her one answer.
You look amazing.
But what I want to hear is like I can't even see it. But what she says is it's. The
thing is though, in reality, mate. I mean, like I was going to say, I've always been quite bullish about like the aging stuff, but I have felt a little bit self-conscious about the fact I'm going grey. I think it's going to suit me, but seeing it in reality and it getting worse,
what it is as well, right?
Like I expect it to go back to
and
being
this is a
brown.
Lovely, honest conversation between two men, and I'm all for it. I think we should absolutely. I'm happy to go with this for a little bit before we move on, because I always said when I was younger, and but I not just said, I truly believed. I was like, I will age gracefully. When you see people who are clearly bald, trying not to be, or the people dyeing their hair, I've got nothing against that. That's their prerogative, and if that's empowering, if that's what they need, they cover their insecurities and whatever, I'm all for it. However, I was like, if I'm going, I'm just going to go bald. If I'm going grey, I'll just go grey. But what I didn't expect was for that to start in my late 20s, early 30s. No, I always thought I'll be 40, 50. Do you know what I mean? When I'm 50 and I'm going considerably grey, it's fine. When I'm 30...
I think that's fair, though, because I don't think it is normal.
Because then
Do you know what I mean?
But
I think it is for our generation.
And then you see it happening at the age it's happening. And I'm like, no. I will age gracefully later. Like, now is not the time to age. So I don't know if you've got similar feelings, but that's what it's like for me.
I think it's more like, I know that it's very early to start thinking of this stuff. I do have the thought of like, fuck, I'm getting closer to dying. Like that's the thought that goes through my head. In terms of like the going bald thing, I'm less worried about that. My dad had quite a good head of hair. Most of the men in my family did until an old age. But I always said, and I have pre-warned Leanne, that if it started going really bald, I'm just getting rid of the lot. Because I'll just keep a beard and there was some hair on my head. Do you know what I mean?
But that's how, we have a couple of very good friends who unfortunately were balding from a very young age. Like we're talking early to mid-20s.
Yeah.
And I always think, at the same time, at the time I always looked at them and thought, I wasn't very empathetic, I think, when I was growing up with them.
No.
So I always looked at it and thought, my God, man, it's going. Just embrace it. Just shave it. But now I think, do you know what? If I was them,
I think the younger you are, the more you can understand the wanting to cling on to it.
Yeah.
The dyeing your hair as a bloke, I don't really get. I could get it if, like, you worked in quite a competitive environment and age might be something that's looked down upon, and like you at least want to have the appearance of looking. In general, though, if it is just something that makes you feel better about yourself, then fair enough. Like, that's the only reason you need to say.
No, really. Absolutely. But it's definitely something I've struggled with, is the fact that I genuinely always was like, I will age gracefully and I'll accept it.
And then when you're faced with the reality.
Like, obviously we know that I don't have a beard because
it goes white. Yeah.
That happened in like my late 20s, and again, I always thought if that happens when I'm like...
But wasn't that an underlying health thing?
I don't know, I never got to the bottom of it.
Right,
but
okay.
I always think, I always thought like, if that happens, when I think of people with white hair,
you think
apart
of
from someone like...
man,
apart from there's a couple of celebrities that maybe have managed to make it work. But I think of someone in like their 50s.
Oh no, see, I'd think even
older. But I think like 50s, I think by the time I get to my 50s, if I've got the white hair, I'm not going to go around dyeing it. I've got white hair. That's how it is.
Yeah.
But when I'm in my late 20s and my beard's gone white, I'm not thinking, well, I'll just embrace it. I'm just, no, I'm like, no, fuck it off.
What if it became an iconic look, though?
I mean, it might. And then I'd be catch-22. I'd be stuck in this situation where I needed it. But like, Yeah, and then and the whole because I've got white going through the hair as well, and then obviously
But wasn't it weird in the sense of like it was in your beard, but it wasn't anywhere else? Do you know what I mean? Or is it everywhere else as well?
Oh, this is going to get very personal.
Yeah. Like, does the carpet match the drapes as well?
In the beard, eyelashes.
Really?
Insides of my eyelashes, not the rest, but just the insides. Like, I'll lean over the table so you can sit. Oh, I don't know if you've got your glasses, your eyesight.
Okay, yeah. By what you mean?
Close to the nose. Also, just a little bit under the eyebrows. So it's just like a sort of an underlying, almost like a definition. There's a few in the chest, not many, like literally a couple. You wouldn't even notice it. And the pubes. Yeah. The pubes are like 50%.
Really?
White.
This will be the gayest thing I've ever said to you.
I'm all for it.
I almost want to see it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you can't.
I don't know what that looks like.
You can't see it.
That's your ladies.
A manscape.
Oh, do you just get rid of it?
Yeah, I don't want to look down and see white. Do you know how fucking depressing that shit is?
I'm laughing with you, not at you.
And I always said as well, like, I'll cry when I get the first grey pube.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
I've not noticed a grey or white pube yet.
I mean, it's about half and half. I didn't like it.
Wow. And the thing is, in my head, I'm imagining like down the middle, one side's white,
it's that same thing as well. No, it's maybe more like 30 or 40%. But either way, it's like, I'll accept it when I'm older. Yeah. That happened. The white hair.
You've just got to accept it's happening now.
The white hair stuff happened when I was.
So do you have an itchy crotch all the time?
No.
Okay.
No, you adjust to it really quickly.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I only ever shaved down there once, genuinely. The rest of the time, it's au natural.
No, you just get used to it. But genuinely, I was like, that was in my sort of like mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
So it was after my 32nd birthday that I saw the bald spot thing and got obsessed with the hair thing, and then I started looking. I'm like, oh my god, is it
Would
receding?
you go Turkey?
Is it thinning? No.
If you had the money to get there,
no,
you wouldn't get a hair transplant.
I couldn't be that guy. Again,
what if you had the money
people
though?
That do. No, I just wouldn't want to be that guy. I want to age gracefully.
That's fair.
I want to. I'm struggling with it because it's happening a lot earlier and sooner than I anticipated.
No, I get that.
And I just wondered, like I said, curious whether you'd had any similar fears or experiences.
Yeah, I definitely get afraid of getting older and the signs of it, like the soreness and things like that. And like I said, the grey hair, I do get a little bit self-conscious about, but I'm just... more than anything, I haven't got the energy in me to start learning how to dye my hair. Do you know what I mean?
Also, I do have, and I appreciate...
It's not actually entered my head once, to be fair.
It's more of a generational thing. And it's a kind of a trauma, almost, of what our expectations are of what we expect. Yeah, I just had the cat meow, both of us now, after his appearance in the last episode.
Yeah. He wants to make a reappearance.
He wants to make it a regular. He wants to become a feature. He wants
to be a series reoccurring guest.
He wants to be a series regular.
Yeah. He wants to be Alex.
We had him on as a guest star, and he wants to be bumped up to series regular.
Yeah.
And he probably wants to work his way into the main cast.
I mean, and TikTok's against him. They took down our last video, which he heavily featured.
I think it was him.
I think it was.
I think he got on there and he did a little.
They weren't bothered about the hit they mentioned. It was just the cat.
What was I saying? I was telling you about my fears.
Yes.
About aging. Oh yeah, that was my fear about aging. Sometimes I do genuinely. I worry that because I look in the mirror, same as you do, same as we all do, and you just every now and then you just like, oh, is that me? Like I look my age or older when you look in the mirror sometimes, and even though most of the time I don't think I look that way. I think I look fine.
I think the thing is, inside, I don't feel like a bloke in my 30s.
No, you feel like you're in your 20s or
younger
teens.
Sometimes. Yeah, I don't think in my head I'm still, at times I still feel like a little kid.
And so
that's what I mean. And so sometimes when I look at the mirror, and like for me, I look really similar to my dad.
Yeah,
and
so
at times that's been really like difficult as well. And also caused to a degree after my dad passed away some identity stuff, because so much of myself I got from
him,
and I was like, so fuck, how much, who
am I, what's me?
Yeah, and what's him?
Yeah.
And that's not like a criticism of my dad. He didn't do anything wrong. It's just
no, but it's an understandable response.
Thing. So yeah, like that gets mixed in with it as well for me. But I think that all of us have our own body image stuff.
Definitely.
In terms of the aging thing, I think it's all about acceptance, because other than just looking after yourself and trying to be healthy, there's not a lot.
Well, this is what I was going to say. One of the things that happened when I catch myself like that is I suddenly start to get really, really worried, because I go, fuck, I am 32 at time of recording.
Yeah.
And I go, I haven't got my life together. Do you know what I mean? And I know
totally
everyone feels that way, but
yeah.
we've spoken about it.
I think our generation is.
I was going to say, we've spoken about it before, where we watched what our parents did, and then obviously what their parents did before them, and we expected that
was our future.
By the time we hit this age, we'd be on the property ladder.
Yeah.
And, maybe we'd have a family if that was something we wanted, that we'd probably have. And it's like,
I thought I would have had kids by now.
Yeah, when I was younger, I thought I'd have had kids by now.
Yeah.
Don't have kids. I'm nowhere near the property ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I embraced the whole thing of like, let's just live life and go live it. And whilst I'm enjoying that, there's definitely moments where I think, shit, I kind of need to start getting my life together, because even though, like you said, I feel like I'm in my 20s or my teens, I'm not.
No. I worry about my pension all of the time, by the way.
Yeah.
It's something I think about on a near daily basis.
I'm really conscious of paying my NI and making sure I don't miss a stamp so that I can claim.
Yeah. I was so happy recently because I got a letter through the post saying the pension from my old job had actually made like $3,000 in the last year. And I've not been paying into it. So that was just, and I was like, oh, something nice has happened.
Yeah.
It's such a rare occurrence now. And like part of it, I mean, I actually don't know the rules about this. I could be worrying about it, and it's no benefit to her at all. But like when my dad passed away, my mum got half of his pension.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, even if I passed away before I reach retirement, I'd like there to be something for Leanne.
Yeah, some kind of financial stability.
Yeah,
almost.
Even if it is like, I don't know, a couple of £100 a month, it's better than nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Like, yeah, man, like those are my fears that I have sometimes, because all the superficial stuff, the grey hairs and the balding, I'll have issues with those.
But in reality, they don't really matter.
Really, what they do is they make me go, you are a lot older than you were, and you are no closer to having any kind of like stable life. Yeah. As dramatic as that sounds.
You're closer to it now, though. I mean, you've got a missus, you're a bit more settled in that respect. I know you're doing a job where you travel.
Yeah.
Which obviously long term has issues with it.
And that's the thing is like, if I'm looking at settling down realistically, I can't settle down and do that job.
No.
So like all that stuff is at play for me.
Yeah.
As I'm sure it is for everyone. I'm sure there's elements of what I've said that you identify with.
The really difficult thing I think about growing up, and it's the same word, it's acceptance, and like settling down and trying to make a relationship work and all of that stuff. There's a lot of having to accept stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like one of the biggest things I've noticed as I've become an adult is like most of it's out of my control. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like how other people react, how a relationship develops, like the things that come with a relationship or the things that come with growing up, like 99.9% of it I can't influence. So most of the time my attitude is like, well, let's try and cope with it as best we can.
And I think that's, what you said there, it's like as an adult, I don't feel like an adult. I just want to jump from hobby to hobby. Do you know what I did last night?
I'm collecting Pokemon cards, mate.
Yeah, do you know
what I mean? Like,
do you know what I did last night? I got into a deep dive, which is what I do sometimes. Like that hyper focus kicks in, and I was like, I want to look up all the prophets of the Abrahamic faiths. So I just sat there and
could you not look into something that we could share together, like ancient civilizations or something like that? Go down that rabbit hole.
Here's the thing, because I started
we could do an episode on that.
I started off hearing a few cities that I'd never heard of before. Well, it depends on the faith.
Right. Did you not total the tally?
In the faith of Islam, there are 25 prophets.
Oh. That sort of prophet.
Do you mean the money?
I thought you meant like how much money have all the faiths made over the years. And I was like, fuck, that would be a deep dive.
Because I was just looking up. There was a couple of cities that I was like, I've never heard of them. Where are they in modern day?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, and then I kind of got into like a thing on the main prophet of Islam, and then I was like, oh, I wonder why. And I was like, I wonder why Muhammad is the main prophet of Islam. So I looked it up.
Wasn't it because he was willing to sacrifice his?
No, it's because, from what I can tell from all the research I've done, it's because he was the last prophet. So he was the last one to hear directly from God and scribe down and go, this is his. So as far as they're concerned, the Torah that was passed down predominantly to Moses, I suppose, was in Islam's belief, in the belief of the Islamic faith, is that the Torah was passed down to like people like Moses and Abraham, obviously one of the big ones. So the teachings of God were there, and the basis for the faith.
So who's Abraham? Because all the faiths come from one source.
So Abraham was one of the big believers of the one God. In each of the teachings, Abraham was a big believer in the one God thing. So he was like, forget all this paganism, forget all you're praying to this many gods, or you're praying to the earth.
Is there a so is it just because they're called the Abrahamic faiths, aren't they? They all come from that source of Abraham. I'm assuming.
he was the one. So he was, God tested him by saying, how much do you truly believe in me? I want you to sacrifice your son.
Right, that's the story I've heard of. Yeah.
And it's his elder son, Ishmael, who's another prophet.
But what religion does that story come from?
All of them.
Right, we don't actually know where that originates from,
then
just that they all originate from it.
His son was spared. He was like, you don't actually have to kill your son.
So do we not know what like the first recorded history of Abraham
Well, I think
is?
they called it, this, again, from what I can tell, they're called the Abrahamic faith because he's kind of like the first universally accepted prophet,
right? And so
in all of the faiths. So he's the first one that
him being a prophet
that came from, that God sort of almost spoke to him and said,
right, okay.
"You're my chosen one to represent
right.
me and the beliefs and stuff."
Okay.
And then they obviously then afterwards, through I guess probably John the Baptist and people like that, you get the Bible and the teachings
Who's
of
the prophet in
Jesus.
Judaism?
Well, there's like the main one.
Yeah, because like you got
Moses,
Jesus,
I guess.
Right. Okay.
But I don't like.
Right. No. Because you got Jesus in Christianity / Catholicism. You've got Muhammad for Islam.
I would say Moses just because he led them
to freedom.
He led the Jewish people away from suffering and slavery and led them to the after a gap of 40 years to the.
So in each religion, I just had a thought. Are they all?
God, I'm going to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. By the way, like
Jesus, Moses, or Muhammad, they were all in their own faiths. The last person God sort of communicated.
Well, certainly.
With. Do you know
So
what I mean?
certainly, I can't speak so much for the Jewish faith, but certainly for the
Islamic.
For the Islamic and the Christian faith, the reason they're the kind of main one is because. I know
Jesus is the Son of God and like God at the same time.
The Christian faith, although most modern Christians won't necessarily accept it, the general idealism, I guess, of the Christian faith is that absolutely the Torah predates it, the Bible and that part of the faith.
Jesus Jewish?
Yeah, and so that's part of the faith. But then what happened is Jesus gave his teachings, which gave us the Bible, which gave us
Christianity
through God,
Christ.
through Jesus. It gave us this basis for society and for God's will and the way we can worship God and all the rules and stuff. And then as far as the Christians are concerned, that was it. That was the teachings we got.
Yeah.
And then as far as the Muslims are concerned, there was one more. In Muhammad came down and was shown by God, and over I think it's about 13 years or something, he scribed, it might have been 25, but he scribed the Quran, or the basis of the Quran, from the teachings of God, from the teachings of Allah, and therefore, so that's like the differences between, that's how they're all linked, and the differences is just they stopped at different stages, I guess.
Okay.
In like my understanding and the basic interpretation of it.
Because I do find the history of religion interesting, because I do believe it's man-made. I don't think there is necessarily a divine God that set all these things down. But I've always had like a respect for people that are religious in terms of having that level of faith in something that you're probably never going to be able to quantify in any meaningful way. And I also like some of the things it does in terms of community and things like that. The problem is when human beings get involved, it gets corrupted. And
it's the whole thing of, it's a massive red flag when someone says to you, like someone who is religious, says to you, but without religion, how do you know what's right and wrong? It's like, I don't need religion to know not to rape or kill someone.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You know, it's like, if you do, that's quite bad.
But I think ultimately, religion is probably a bad thing because of the death and destruction that has been caused in its name. In the name,
yeah.
And like even just like the level of knowledge that's been lost. Like if you look at in the Americas and the burning of books and knowledge from around the world, just because they belong to a different religion.
The burning of the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah. And there was like a huge burning in like Mayan and areas and places like that by the Spanish.
There's so much stuff that ancient civilizations, and I think that's why the alien theories and stuff come into it, is because all that stuff that we knew how to do, it was recorded, and then it was destroyed.
The problem with the alien theories as well is there are actually a lot of it's like made more fantastical than the reality, but there are tablets that have stories of these ancient creatures that came here and ruled us and created us.
But for me, it's that thing of people who believe in those kind of things will say, but we can't do that now. How could they do that then, thousands of years ago? And it's like, actually, the only reason we don't know how, and the reason we had to start again and haven't reached that point yet, is because of like things like the Crusades, because of the religious.
Yeah, probably. I mean, in terms of like, I've watched a lot of stuff on like the precision of things. Like, there's these ancient vases that have been found over Egypt and places like that go back very far in date. That like the level of precision and symmetry and like we would just about be able to make them today with like computer programs and AI and shit like that, but somehow back then people were creating these things. That's not even taking into account the pyramids and the precision and all the shit that goes into those.
It's like, imagine what society and the world would look like now if we'd have kept that knowledge and then built on it as the years go by. It would be,
I think for me, like the alien theories I'm not into. What I find interesting and I like the idea of, and it sort of feeds into this narrative of they don't want us to know what happened in the past because, for example, like we keep finding out that anatomically modern correct humans, so people like us, physiologically no different from me and you, their remains are being found.
There's no one physiologically like you and me.
Well, no, but they're quite close. Are being found at like earlier and earlier dates, so meaning like we go back a lot further than we thought we did. And when you look at how long it's taken to build this civilization that we live in today, for example, that's only really taken like, I think it's like 6,000 years or something like that. But if you then find out, well, actually humans like me and you with the same capacity, brain, all those things, they just didn't necessarily have the same tools that we're aware of, were around 250,000 years ago. Or even some remains that have been found that indicate and being debated.
Yeah.
But like as far as 900,000 years ago. Now, if you find out humans were back then, that's a lot of time for us to have been doing shit, and a lot more time for things to have been destroyed. And
it's also the whole thing of like the world was different back then, physically.
Totally. Like for example, Antarctica was a green rainforest once upon a time.
Yeah, I mean that's not thousands of years. That's
hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Millions. Yeah. Of years, but but
I honestly recommend.
I don't even know how we got onto this.
If you really want to find out, I can send you some.
We were having like a really.
You might have to watch some Joe Rogan though.
Listen, I don't mind watching clips, but you and I both know I do not have the capacity to sit down and watch or listen to.
No, but if you're doing deep dives on religion, you can do some deep dives on.
Yeah, but I do deep dive on religion because I can read and I can just get what I want from it and then move on. I don't have to actually sit there and listen. It's like sometimes when you go to a web or like an art.
That's interesting. So you don't struggle to focus on reading, but you do engage.
It's because it's at my pace, the reading.
Right. Okay.
So I mean, I dictate
so you can flick on and off of it, sort of thing,
and I can go back and reread something, or I can whatever.
But you can't focus on like video or something like that.
It's like I like when I open an article. Depending on obviously what type of article it is, but something like where I'm getting a breakdown of like the prophets of the Abrahamic faith, for example.
Yeah.
I want it to be like I want it to be a clear header of each one so that I can scroll to it and start the list. Because I'm not reading the intro. That's just not happening.
No.
Scroll down.
See, I enjoy learning stuff through a visual.
Yeah,
medium.
there's different people, and like, don't get me wrong, I've learnt a lot from YouTube, as has Alex. We know. Yeah, but I prefer to take things at my own pace.
Yeah,
I find it easier,
no,
and like
fair.
in terms of the hyper focus thing, I can do that with reading. But if I'm listening or watching, it's like I've sort of had this discussion briefly the other day because I was on a video call, and I was like, I really struggle with phone calls and video calls because as much as I want to give you my full attention,
what's going on around the computer screen,
and even though I know, like, we were having a really emotional discussion, I'm like, I know I need to be in this moment 100%.
You can't.
But I fucking can't. So yeah,
I'd love it if like the pod went pro, so to speak, and we had a studio. I would want to be doing like 2.5, 3 hour episodes.
Not with me.
No, but what I think the way we'd end up doing it, and I actually think it would be quite good, is like maybe I have someone like Alex on, for example, and we're sat there chatting. An hour in, you come in. Do you know what I mean? And like you just sort of slide in, and then do you know what I mean?
And rob me of my intros. No, I'll do the intro, then leave, then come back.
I like that.
But the thing is as well is like sometimes I listen to the episodes and I try and learn from them.
Yeah, no, I get that. I do that.
And
as
so
well.
like I'll listen and sometimes I can sort of not justify but use something contextually. For example, if I've been in a real low, I can hear it. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not giving a good account of myself there.
Yeah.
The quality of podcasting is poor on my end, but I can contextually say, I was not with it then. I was in
yeah.
I'm not going to listen back to a 2.5 hour episode. I'm just not.
No, but so would you not think, okay, well, I could do half an hour and then come back to it later, or do you know what I mean?
I struggle to come. I lose things if I turn away. Because the thing is, right, I've always said it. Like for me, I am the best way to describe certain elements of my focus and whatever is out of sight, out of mind. Like if I'm looking at that, behind us there's a bookcase, right? Behind me there's a bookcase. If I look at that bookcase, that's all well and good. I can take it in. I can see what's there, and I might go, oh, that book there. I'd like to read that. The second I turn away from it, that bookcase doesn't exist. There's no lingering memory of it. And what will happen is I'll move on and then I'll see it again and go, oh shit, the bookcase. And then it might come back and I'll go, oh, there was a book on there I wanted to read. That one, that's it. That's the one. But as soon as I turn away, gone. So if I'm listening to a podcast and I do half hour, I turn away from it, I put it down, that's gone. Because the next time I pick up my phone, I'm going to think about going to something else.
On a personal question, how does that affect your relationships? Do you know what I mean? Because I can imagine that must affect them.
It's not good. That's why I'm shit at, we touched on it last week. That's why I'm shit at texting.
Yeah.
The worst thing I can do is open a message.
Yeah.
Because if I don't respond to it there and then,
you just won't respond to it.
That's gone. I need the notification.
I do that a little
bit.
Because like sometimes, do you have an iPhone?
Yeah.
The fucking face recognition fucks me over.
It just opens the thing and you're like,
oh, why have you done that? I need that alert for later. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise I'm going to forget to message. Like hours can go by and I'll be like, oh, I haven't heard from Leanne and she messaged me 3 hours ago, but my phone accidentally opened and I never saw it.
I once did it with Jack, who likes the
Jack in Japan.
I once did it with Jack where we were messaging each other. I thought of a response. I'd opened the message, my mistake, thought of a response, closed it, went away, and after a couple of months I was like, oh, it's a bit odd.
I've not heard back from him, and you just not messaged him.
I didn't message him. I'd thought of the response, and in my mind that had registered as you've responded.
Yeah, he's clearly a nice bloke because he still listens to the pod.
Oh, I loved it. I've got a lot of time in the day for chat.
I'd love to meet him.
I was so frustrated with myself because I wonder
if he'd find it weird meeting me, having listened
most
to the
people
pod
do.
So much.
Oh, having listened to the pod, I see. Yeah, contextually.
Yeah, because when we went to Andrew's wedding, and there was that lovely couple from Middlesbrough, and it was part of his weekly routine to listen to the pod.
Shout out.
Was it Jack? No, we've just talked
My man,
about
I'm going to be honest with you. I thought, shall I throw you under
I'm so sorry, because I think his girlfriend's name was Amy. But general, like, look, don't take it personally. I am so bad with names, genuinely.
Forgive me.
Like, I've been working in a particular branch for nearly a year now. I'm just starting there's actually a lady who worked in the previous store with me that I worked in for 3 years, and I've only just learnt her name. So, like, it's genuinely not a personal thing.
I was like, shall I throw you under the bus and go, what's his name? But then I was like, no, because I don't remember it. So
and
if
then
it
when
comes
I
back
said
on
Jack,
me,
I was like, we've just been talking about Jack.
Like, let's just avoid it.
It could be Jack. I don't know, if I'm being honest.
To be fair, I think I was a few beers in when I met him.
Yeah.
And then as the night went on, I don't know if you're
aware
aware
I'm
of
pretty
this.
sure we gave him a shout out.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware of this or recall this, but as the night went on, I was several more beers deep.
Yes, you were. You were enjoying yourself that night, which I think I remember saying at the time. It was nice to see.
Yeah, look, I got drunk.
Yeah.
It's no surprise. Because I remember that was the wedding where I was outside because I was like, I need to go for a walk because I'm just bored inside.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I'm like, I've got to go off and get some new scenery. And then I went for a pee and I came out and you'd all followed me down. And I was like, well, I did. That was not the sight I expected after just putting my cock away.
Yeah.
Was to be greeted by about 5 people.
Yeah.
It was different.
It was.
But anyway, God, what a whirlwind we've been on. We've talked about, we've sharing a really honest discussion about ageing and our fears. Then we got on to religion and civilizations. And now Christ knows.
Yeah.
Oh, we were talking about my focus.
Yes.
That's probably part of it.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, like literally, I need the, and sometimes it means a thing will stay there for ages, notification will stay there for ages because I'm not in the right, it sounds daft, I'm not in the right mood to respond.
No, I can understand that.
I'm not in the right head, I'm not ready to respond.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I'll fucking wait a long time.
You've got better
shit.
with it, though. I'll give you a due. Like
It's
before,
shit. That's because it's...
if I messaged you, it could be up to 24 hours until I heard back. And but it's one of those things of, it's like with Ash. Ash just doesn't message. Like he's got better recently. He has actually started out of the blue messaging me. But in general, like, if you know Ash, you're like, well, you just, unless you contact him, he's not contacting you. But so that was just like, with you, I was just like, oh, that's just the thing. It's the same with, if you try and call Alex, he's not picking up the phone.
Yeah, I did say, because...
like, never have him as your emergency contact.
I did the thing, we did the thing for Al, and we had to try and, like, contact him.
Mm.
And I was like, look, I've passed over the information. It's in Alex's court. And I was like, now what you're about to discover is that Alex may be the only person that can give me a run for my money in terms of their response times.
But do you know what? When it's come to, like, inviting him on the pod, he responds really quickly usually.
Oh, he responds then, does he?
He does.
Son of a bitch.
He's in there for the limelight. Like, genuinely, I think maybe the first time he was a bit slow, but I think since then he's been really good.
He's all right when it suits him.
But I think also sometimes because of the shifts he's on and stuff.
Yeah, and I do
There's
accept
been
that.
a couple of times I've messaged, and you can see it from, like, when he was last online.
Maybe like 3 a.m. or something.
I'll be like, okay, well, I'm not going to hear back from him for a bit. So you're like, cool. But in general, no. To be fair, Alex is, in terms of texting, I've never had an issue.
I would say definitely getting a sort of like mid to long term partner and being with them.
Yeah.
Her being who she is and how she is. I've definitely had to make a seriously conscious effort to improve.
Be better at communicating.
At the same time, like, she's the only, because sometimes she gets annoyed. I'm like, you're the only person I message every day. I was like, I assure you that I have no compulsion to message people every day.
Yeah, because, like,
I just don't.
Sometimes I'll be having conversation, like, say it's with Joe, and women are very different creatures.
100%.
So she'll ask me a question about something, she'll be like, how's Jake and his missus, for example, and I'll be like, I have no fucking idea. They could have broken up months ago, they could be engaged, they could be moving to Timbuktu. I don't have a clue. And I think women find it infuriating that, particularly with men, we don't quite often delve under the surface.
Mickey Flanagan does this thing where he's like, sometimes if my missus knows, like, one of my friends is, like, going through a breakup or something, and she'll be like, how is he, what's happening? He's like, I don't know, babe. He's like, we don't talk about that. And she's like, how do you not? And he's like, we just don't. Like, that's men. Yeah. That's what we do.
Like, I think the first time I knew you had a girlfriend was you mentioned it on the podcast, and I was just like, it's about right.
Well, no, because I think I brought her to meet you guys after not very long.
No, but I think like
oh yeah,
I
we've
didn't
been seeing,
know.
I've been seeing someone.
Yeah, I didn't even know you were dating.
It was so like, yeah, it's quite amusing my approach to it. But she honestly, she's again, I'm trying to make more of a conscious effort. But like, what would happen a lot is she'd ask me, "How are you?" Like what's going on or something.
And you just be like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm alright, watching TV." You know, but what she wants is she wants me to tell her what I'm. But I would tell her, I'm like, "But it's nothing of note.
No,
like, there's nothing worth saying."
No, but you will learn in a relationship you have a lot of nothing conversations, which is what, and that feels rude to say because they're not nothing, but
to a bloke,
like, yeah, you do start doing the like, this is what I had for lunch. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are the
and like she would get annoyed sometimes because when I was at work, she'd be like, "What are you up to?" And I'd be like, "Oh, we're just on the coach." And she's like, "I need fucking more than that." She's like, "Where are you going?" Like, what?
Yeah. Whereas I sort of have the opposite. I have to drag details out of Leanne a lot of the time.
Me and Leanne one and the same.
Yeah, like I'll say to her, say like something happened at work, and she'd be like, I'll be like, "How was work?" "Yeah, it was bad." And I'll be like, "Right, so what happened?" And then I'll get another little detail, and I'm like, "Right, well, how did that happen?" I don't get the story. I have to ask for every. Yeah. And it's like something I've said to her a few times, like, you would be making my life a lot easier if you got the gist of like when I'm asking every detail. In future, just give me the details to begin with.
You and Steph could have a lot to talk about because me and Leanne are very similar. I don't.
Well, we're all socialising hopefully next month. So.
And she'll tell me, she's like, "That annoys me that you don't.
Yeah.
You're not." I was like, I don't think of myself as not. I just, if you ask me how I am, I'm okay. It's like that's all I've got. There's nothing of note, especially when you say, "Oh yeah, what did you do today?" And I'd go, "That's the thing." I'd say, "Oh, not much," and she'd be like, "But what's not much?" And I'm like, "But why do you want to know? Like, there's nothing of interest. I did nothing interesting today."
Well, there's some days I've had a day off. I've just been chilling and doing nothing.
Yeah,
like playing games or things like that. But I've got used to just, all right, this is what I've done today. Yeah. I went out to the shop to get some tobacco.
Yeah, so I'm getting there. I'm making a more conscious effort with my messaging, but. Oh man, it's bad.
Ultimately you'll find it's worth it. Do you know what I mean? If you can make it work.
But you know as well as I'm bad at messaging.
Yeah. So if you're not living together, you have to up your game.
And that's the thing I said to her. I was like, a lot of like, sometimes when she's like, you know, WhatsApp or what, I'm like, "Mate, I just saw you." Like, we've literally done a day apart.
Doesn't matter.
I've done nothing in that day.
Doesn't matter.
We've been apart.
Doesn't matter.
I was like, I spend most of my time
with
you.
No, but that's where you'll start saying cute stuff like, "I've been thinking of you."
That would be the smart man's option. My option is, "Fuck's wrong with you?" No.
Yeah, they're just different creatures. You have to
definitely.
Like, you know, that they let us do some really nice things, so we have to make it work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where...
And also, like, there will be moments where, like, you might have to do that a lot, but there'll be days where you're in a really shit place and you'll be able to message her and go, "Fuck, I'm struggling with this today and I just need to fucking rant about it." And she will immediately pick up her phone and she'll be there.
You know, I don't do as much as I should.
But there'll be moments where, you know, the closer you guys get, where you will want to do that.
Look, we've had some, some.
And I would certainly encourage you to do it because genuinely, I don't think you can make a relationship work long term if you don't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, look, we've had some wonderfully honest and frank conversations. Good. But the fact is...
By the way, I didn't mean for this to turn into a relationship podcast,
it's not something that I'm very good at.
No, I don't think any man. I don't think I've ever met a bloke that I think is good at it.
How often? Like, do you remember when I can't remember where I was going, but I was going away somewhere like the next day or 2 days after we did, and no one knew because I just forgot to tell anyone. Oh,
we were around your house once. Your mum and dad, or your mum knew. And we were all out in the garden. I think it was a nice day.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I was like, "What day do you fancy doing the pod next week?" And you were like, "Oh, well, I'm in Switzerland." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then your brother sort of walked out as we were discussing it, and he was like, "What are you guys talking about?" And I was like, "Apparently your brother's in Switzerland next week." And he was like, and he wasn't very impressed.
No, he wasn't.
He was like, "But it makes sense."
It's just like that stuff like that. That's pretty big, and I forget to tell people.
Yeah, but the problem is when you're in a relationship, you can't forget stuff like, "By the way, I'm in Switzerland next week."
I reckon I could.
No, but you can't.
I reckon I will. At some point, I will drop a clanger like that.
Yeah.
100%.
I'd try your best to avoid it.
I try.
Yeah.
But I can't promise anything.
That's fair.
Yeah, boy.
Just been a while since I've used it.
Episode, hasn't it?
It's been very
open.
Particularly, it's been almost like therapy for me. I've basically just come out here and said all the things I'm scared about.
The thing is, though, I like that, though. Like, for example, I'll tell you what, I will open up in return. One of the things I really struggle with is my social capability nowadays. So, like, back in the day...
Following on from our discussion.
If we went on a night out, I never, ever felt nervous. Ever. No. Like, I could go out clubbing.
You just jump into the group,
yeah,
whatever,
you just have
whoever.
a great time. But now... like, I have to properly gear myself up to go out and do something. And I'm like, beforehand, I'm worried, what people are going to think about me. Like, I'm worried about being quiet for too long.
Or the opposite.
To the point we were, like, at Andrew's wedding. And I was so caught up in my own head that I couldn't even bring myself to go for a dance with Leanne. Do you know what I mean? And then I'm beating myself up because I'm like, I'm letting her down.
100%.
Because she loves dancing, she wants to have a good time, she wants to have a partner that's enjoying himself. And I'm stood outside in the rain, like, I just want to be alone. Do you know what I mean? And it's hilarious because, not hilarious, but it's funny to look back and be like, if you'd have told me at 21 that I was going to feel like that in 10 years,
that you were going to suffer from social anxiety,
and anxiety and depression in general, and I remember when I was really much younger and I was dating someone, and one of her friends was talking about the fact she'd wanted to hurt herself and kill herself, and I was really, really dismissive about it because in my head, it just didn't make sense. I was like, she's being over dramatic. I can't imagine how you could possibly ever feel that way. And to then be in my 30s and have had those thoughts, you're like, fuck, I wish I'd have been a bit more empathetic.
And then you're in a cycle because you're beating yourself up again almost.
100%.
Yeah.
The only thing that sort of saves me a little bit is when I find out that I'm far from alone in having those feelings and thoughts in terms of men my age. And I think, to be honest, to a degree, like last week I was really annoyed you didn't want to do a political episode because there was so much going on. But actually I have been enjoying more just coming here, and I've not looked at my notes once today, and we've just sat and chatted and I've enjoyed it. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same as, like, we're going to go to Dave and Mia's to socialise. I'm not nervous about that. I'll have a good time.
It's a bit different. It's a bit different, yeah.
But like, I went out with Leanne and her cousins last Friday, got pissed, had a really good time in the end. But I was still not, I wouldn't say I was like I was 10 years ago, but I was better than I've been previously. I still didn't get up and dance.
No, but I think that's a thing for yourself, is that suffering from anxiety and depression in general is like, well, that can happen. And also, obviously, you've experienced, quite a traumatic incident in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
That has obviously, I'm not saying it's the sole cause or it's the sole
I
reason.
think it was the catalyst.
It's
sort of just...
It's no doubt played its part.
I think what it showed me, and I said to you off pod, like, I thought I had a lot of stuff locked down, like my anger and things like that, and I've learned in recent years. No, I just shoved it down
it's
deep.
It's not just that. It's the same thing. Not to make it too political, but I'm going to just use this kind of comparison. It's kind of like human rights and civil rights. It's like, just because you've won that battle, you've got to keep working at it. Do you know what I mean? It's not just going to be one and done.
No, totally.
Like with your anger,
yeah,
I think you absolutely were on top of it. I don't think necessarily you just pushed it down. I think you absolutely were on top of it.
I'm more fairer with myself.
And that's a fair.
Maybe I didn't push it, but I definitely pushed my issues down, I think, to be honest with you.
But I think you thought, same as I would have thought at the age we were at the time, is that's done. I can forget about that.
Yeah, and I feel all right at the moment, so I'm never going to feel bad.
Yeah, it's going to come back, and you're going to have to keep working at it. But I think with the social anxiety, it's different because you were such a social creature. You were such an outwardly social creature.
Yeah.
You were very good at socialising.
Recognise yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the thing I really struggled with. I'd be like, I don't recognise the person that could do that. Like, I don't know how I did that.
And you think of that as almost being like riding a bike. It's like, surely once I can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
You never think of yourself as losing.
I think the truth is, when you're young, you're just not as scared. I think that's what it is. Like, when I was younger, I wasn't afraid to go out and have a good time. So I just went out and had a good time, and I didn't have the stress of like, oh, I'm in my 30s and still living with my mum, and I have a partner I want to live with, and all those things. And I think that comes down onto it as well.
And like, I never had any concept of a social battery.
No, totally.
But now I've realised that I do have a social battery, and obviously doing what I do, I use a lot of that
for your
energy for the job. So when I come home, I do struggle a bit with it. So, and again, like yourself, like I'm not trying to go make this about me, by the way. I'm not trying to jump
I
in
get
and
it.
go,
We're just relating to one another.
For me, I feel guilty because I feel like I'm letting Steph down because she's obviously got her own social life. She doesn't.
You've been away and you want to spend time together, and she wants to spend time together.
And she hasn't been out using her social batteries.
No,
so she wants to go and use it
back
and see friends, but as a couple. And I'm always kind of like, I'm not dismissive of the ideas because I want to do them as well, but it's like I don't have the energy to be doing that. And like sometimes it's not even it's just like going out and doing something. It's like I don't have that in me because I've kind of expended it all. And I didn't used to think of that as even a concept, but now I appreciate that it is finite.
Well, that's the thing. I think in general, our resources within ourselves, whether physical, mental or emotional, they are finite.
Mm.
But I think when you're younger, you're just more robust. Do you know what I mean? You can...
And you recover quicker as well.
In every way. Like, do you know what I mean? Whereas now, like the older you get, like the more stuff does take its toll.
It's like when you're kind of like 16, 17, and you go for a breakup, you go through this huge emotional roller coaster, and it is like the worst thing that's ever happened, and nothing, you will never feel this bad again as in that moment.
Some of the breakups
generally within like anywhere from a week to a month, those feelings of I'm not saying you're not necessarily always fine, but those feelings have massively subsided, and you were well on your way to being over. Whereas now, I feel like if you go through that same thing, and obviously, to bring the aging back into it, you're suddenly scared about having to go back out there and restart again at this age. But it does take longer to get over things.
Yeah.
I truly believe.
No, it does. I think even if you look at stuff like death, like when I was really young, I lost a grandparent, was like not being horrible, just wasn't.
You were nonplussed almost.
Yeah, because I was quite young, whereas you fast forward to being a teenager, I lost another grandparent, hit me completely differently. Do you know what I mean? And then lose my dad when I get a bit older, that hits me even worse. So I think as you get older, it does, all of it takes more of a toll.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I sometimes wonder, well, when I lost my nan, I did have quite a strong emotional response to that, but I don't know. I think that absolutely part of that was losing my nan, but I'm also wondering, when I look back, was a lot of that the fact that it was my first adult experience of death.
Yeah.
Rather than when I was like younger, I was shielded from it quite a lot by my parents, so like I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral. Know what it means, I was only allowed to go to the wake and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm like, was that just because it was my first kind of experience with death, and as an adult and being that open to it and that exposed to it? Yeah. Whereas now, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It's hard to articulate, but it's been a very, very, I don't know. It's almost been a therapy episode rather than a.
Well, we can call it the men's mental health episode.
I do appreciate you opening up about your anxiety and your social anxiety in particular, because I know, like, I was over the, because I know, even though we don't, we're blokes, we don't talk that much about it. I know how much you've been suffering recently, just to sort of put a time frame on it.
Yeah.
So to hear that you went out and had glimpses of your old self, because look, none of us are ever going to be our old selves.
Yeah.
But to hear that you had glimpses of it and were able to recognise that and enjoy it, it was lovely to see that you'd gone out and socialised and enjoyed yourself. It was really, really, really heartwarming to read.
Yeah, I think partly what helped is I've met her cousins a number of times now. Perhaps
it's not a new situation
with them. And to be fair, they've always been really lovely. But like the anxiety thing, like for example, one of her cousins, the first time I met him, I called him the wrong name. And I was then terrified to see him again, because I was like, he's just going to remember that. And we were getting on so well the second time. I said to him, do you know what's ridiculous is I was really afraid you weren't going to like me. And he was like, what do you mean? You're lovely. And I was like, well, I got your name wrong the first time I met you. And he was like, I don't even remember it. And then you go, I'm such a dickhead.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because as with all, not all, but as with a good chunk of social anxiety for most people, you build it up so much in your head. But if you are able to get over that hump and go there and do it, it's never that bad.
No, totally. You always have a better time than you expect you will.
Absolutely. Like I said, that's not always the case, but I feel like in 90% of cases, that is what happens when you can get there and do it. You do just feel like, what was I worried about?
Yeah.
This is like you with that guy. You're like, I can't believe I was so worried about you disliking me for
months worrying about seeing him again,
and he doesn't even remember it.
No, because it wasn't.
Because it was in your head.
Yeah,
it wasn't in his.
No,
and even if you can't know what's in someone else's head.
So, and the thing is, I think like one of the things we need, like when we're having body image issues or we're insecure about how other people see us, most people are too fucking busy with their own lives to actually be paying attention to what you're doing. Like it was different when we were younger. We all hyper focused on what our friends were doing and judging one another. I don't think we do that as much now. We do it with people on television and people in the public eye, but I don't really think we do it with one another as much. Do you know what I mean?
No.
I think also in terms of like the social anxiety, I think partly when we were younger, we had a group of friends where like nothing was off the table sort of thing. And like, I actually remember us going on a night out with someone I'm not friends with anymore and we haven't seen for a very long time.
Oh, I assume I know. I think I know. It
was their engagement evening with someone they're not with anymore. And I think like you and Ash as an icebreaker told this girl one of like my most embarrassing stories.
Yeah,
but it meant for the rest of the night, like, how much worse can this get? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's like part of it of like, there was nothing to be afraid of because the worst thing at all. Like
it's the same. Like I remember it bringing people into the group, even temporarily, or partners and whatever into the group. And within an hour, every single one of my embarrassing stories was out there in the open.
Yeah.
So there's, like you said,
it was almost a way of introducing people to each one of us was to be like, oh yeah, and this is what this dickhead did. Do you know what I mean?
It's sort of like, well, it can't get worse. This is it.
No, and like and there is almost something quite freeing about like people knowing you're a bit of a tit, like being like, oh okay, so I can be a bit of a tit. I don't need to worry about it that much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think that played into it as well.
Yeah. But it's not, like I said, it was really nice to know that you did go out.
No, it was really nice to go out.
And I hope it encourages you to do a bit more of it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely made me feel less anxious about doing something like that again.
Good.
I just think I need to, as much as possible, try and get out of my own head.
Yeah, boy.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the most serious use of that soundbite you will ever hear from me.
But yeah, I like it.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, I like I said to you off it, hinted at. I like that we've now done 2 episodes in a row, and I know we did the whole thing at the start about like nuclear Armageddon, but we've not really touched upon the state of the world because and that is something that does
depressing.
It gets to me.
Like there's no. Yeah, and that was, I can't remember what the point I was going to make because I said I was annoyed with you about not wanting to do a current events one. But I think to a degree it has actually quite helped.
And like, I appreciate that stuff moves faster. There's certain things you might want to talk about, but then in 3 weeks, they're not relevant at all.
No, shit just moves so quickly.
For me, I've got to be, it sounds daft, and I think you'll be receptive to it, is that I've got to be in a strong emotional place to be able to engage with the news.
No, I can understand that.
Because if I'm even faltering, never mind actually in a low or a slump, if I'm faltering or if I'm even just a little bit above I can't do it because it will drag me down and it will wear on me.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking shit.
Well, and because part of that is like, you watch all this stuff about like, well, the government's not helping and like, we might go to war and, you know,
Nazis are back.
We're all fucked. Nazis are back. Like, there's borderline dictatorship in America at the moment. Like, shit's getting
racism's
weird.
Rampant. Homophobia's on the up.
Like, shit's just going south. And like, you try looking around for like a glimmer of hope, and the only place I find it is in escapism.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and whether that's like our shared interest, the show Invincible, which by the way, I watched the episode at time of recording that dropped today.
I've not watched any of the series because I made a note of it coming out, and then do you know what I did?
God damn it!
Got rid of the notification, forgot about it.
Fucking watch Invincible, bro.
Yeah, it's on my list. I don't have a chance now, probably until Monday.
God damn it!
Because I'm pretty much busy from here till the rest of the week.
The thing is, I don't know how much you know about the future of the
Quite
story.
a lot.
Yeah, me too. I sort of watched a lot of videos on what happens, and
same.
but I'm looking forward to seeing how they get there, because there are differences between the source material and the show.
Yeah. But yeah, it's that, and it's like I find a lot of escapism. Sometimes I turn to like sport.
No,
but like
sport
the full,
I don't as much
but
anymore.
like the expanded sports. So like, there's a podcast that I turn to.
Women's
They
football?
don't do them anymore. Yeah, it's and I've mentioned it before, but it was a Scottish thing. Sacked in the morning.
Yeah,
and they just get managers on and coaches to talk about various elements of the game. Actually, they had a really serious discussion on the last one, because they had a fan question. I don't know what they planned to talk about, but they had a fan question that went, does being a manager actually affect your health? And they both went off on, like, yeah, it does. Like, I've got serious health problems. So the episode is with a woman called Amy Irons, who's a media person. That's her thing. It's with Craig Levine every episode. So it depends on him being in a job or not.
I was going to say, isn't he a Scottish manager?
He was Scottish manager, yeah. So they can talk about quite a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Craig.
And he was Hearts manager. And he's like a Hearts
Who was
legend.
he in? Was it like West Brom or something at some point? Or
don't know, but but it's really entertaining, and they have some brilliant guests on. So you got people like Martin. Sorry, you got Neil Warnock done an episode, Barry Fry, which I listened to, which is amazing, by the way. Like if you only listen to one episode,
listen to Barry Fry.
It's phenomenally good. But it's stuff like that.
He
it's the
makes
stories
me think,
and stuff.
Do you know who reminds me of Barry Fry? It's that guy who's manager and owner of Dorking.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. Mark something.
No, I know the bloke. There's like a lot of media coverage.
I honestly love him. There's not an interview or clip I've ever seen of him where I think you're a dickhead.
But what?
He is what he is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
what I like about Barry Fry is that nowadays, in football, corruption's rampant. It always has been. But it's very high level corruption. It's very clever.
Well, it's now involving nation states and
it's finding loopholes in the legal system. It's lawyering up and hiding behind that and all that kind of stuff.
Hundreds of millions at stake.
But Barry Fry's old school corruption.
Yeah,
do you know
like,
what I mean?
I'll give you a bung if you get
like he tells this.
Here.
He tells this story about the chairman, and like even though I've just sort of summed it up. Please go and listen to it because it's brilliant. But he tells this story about how like the chairman's like, I'm going to give you your players, I'm going to give everyone a bonus. He says, but what I need their names and some basic details about them. So Barry Fry goes around, you can get this bonus, and it turns out what the owner had done is sign up to a loan in every one of their names, and then like fucked off the money.
Shit.
But it's that kind of stuff. It's like proper old school corruption. There's no hiding behind you've got to look for it. It's there if you want to find it. It's like, no, we've just been robbed. We've just been conned by our own chairman.
Yeah.
By our own owner. Phenomenal stuff.
Not if you're one of those players.
Phenomenal stuff. And they had, because of his association with this owner, he had like a police tail following him for a while. And he was like, mate, he rang him up. And he said to the owner, he's like, mate, he said, there's this, like, you ought to be careful because I think the police are on you. And he went, me? He said, no. He says, I think that's all you, mate. I think that's something you've done. Yeah. And it's just properly like, good old school corruption.
Yeah, someone you can see like Harry Redknapp being involved
100%. Harry Redknapp is was like the last bastion, when he signed over the tax to his dog or whatever it was. Yeah. He was like the last bastion.
How he got away with all that.
Old school corruption.
Went to court, got acquitted, walked off and went on holiday with Sandra. Do you know what I mean?
Proper old school corruption. That's what I love.
But has one of the most like accurate and famous claims in football history when he sat in an interview on television and said Frank Lampard.
It's going to be,
He'd sold some experienced players and was starting to play a 17-year-old Frank Lampard for West Ham and was getting criticised by the media. And he was like, mate, the players I've sold are like, they can't even get on the bench in the teams I've sold them to. Like, this lad's got everything to go to the very top.
Yeah.
And then you get a montage of, at the same time, of Frank like scoring worldies.
Yeah, for Chelsea in England. And
yeah.
But that's my escapism. That's the stuff I throw myself into to kind of just go, let's have fun. Let's just like not worry about the serious state of the world. Because as much as, I know there's that quote, football, you know, it's some people say it's life or death, but it's much more important. And it's a great quote. But it's like, it is a game.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that serious about it. I like it.
Well, it's a lot of people's community, isn't it? It's their religion, isn't it? It's their church every weekend is going to their respective ground and watching.
Don't get me wrong,
team.
for people who don't like football, I agree with many people who said it before. It's like, what do you have? Like, how do you have small talk with people? The weather will only get you so far.
One of my go-tos, if I'm with a bloke on my own, I'll be like football?
Yeah.
Because whatever their team name is, if it's a really shit team, you can, oh shit, that's bad for you.
Yeah.
If it's Chelsea, you'll be like, oh, someone has to be. Do you know what I mean?
Or even if they support someone, it's an indication that they like football in general. So you can just do general football chat, and they're likely to engage and understand.
And it can often expand from there as well.
But yeah, like and films and TV and stuff.
Totally.
You just throw yourself into it, because the world is not a nice place to be in, and it feels like it's getting worse. People are, you know, getting poorer. We're all being charged more. The prices for things are all going up over the next year or so, even though these companies are making record fucking profits, and the quality of goods are going
down.
down.
We fucking started on the water companies, mate. I could fucking scream over what's gone on with that.
Yeah.
The fact those fuckers have been bailed out with a loan to cover their shortfall, they're going to put prices up and still dump shit in the rivers, and the government's like, yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy.
Like, Dharma's just like, fuck it, mate. Sewage, baby, sewage. Do you know what I mean? Dump that shit.
And then you go on to question time, and you go, "Oh, that's not very good, is it?" And Fiona Bruce just kind of goes,
No, but what about immigrants?
"Oh yeah, but what about? Let's look at what Keir Starmer's doing."
Classic BBC. That.
I just wanted to use that. I just wanted to wrangle the conversation that way.
The thing is, though, I think what the left needs to let go of a little bit is Labour is not currently a representation of the left.
No, centre right at best. We've said that.
Like, what I'm getting fed up with is seeing leftists trying to defend Keir Starmer. It's like, what? He's not your guy. Do you know what I mean? So just stop it. Like, I naively, and I've been very open about it, like, at first I was a bit supportive of Starmer, and as time has gone on and the more evidence he's given us, the less supportive, to the point now where I'm like, no, he's just the same as what we've had for the last 14 years.
For the pair of us, and I'm going to use this opportunity, if I may, you can go back and listen to old episodes anywhere you find podcasts.
Yeah, you
can go back to the build-up to the election, or pre-election, but certainly the build-up to the election, and both of us were very critical of Keir Starmer. The only thing that Keir Starmer had going, in our opinion, was that he wasn't the Tories.
Was that, at the very least, when you looked at his CV, well, he might have some principles, but what we're learning at the moment is he doesn't really.
We said he's not necessarily going to make decisions that will benefit the country, but neither did the Tories. The difference is, at least Starmer won't be robbing us blind at the same time,
but
whereas the Tories were robbing us blind.
Whereas it feels like Starmer's just a bit more of the same, just maybe not quite as extreme.
The Tories made all the same decisions he's making.
Yeah.
But they were giving all the contracts to their mates.
But the sad thing is, he has, at least in his mind, an excuse to point towards, doesn't he? The last 14 years, and in particular the 22 billion
black hole
that comes up every week. Which I still maintain, like, because the thing is, that argument I can't hear, it's like, what do you want him to do? There's no money, and it's like, yeah, but we managed to triple the national debt and it hasn't all gone to shit. So how about we triple it again, but actually do something good with it?
By the way, can I just take this opportunity, talking about national debt and stuff, just to do one topical mention, and you can do your own afterwards. I'm sure we're very close to the end in time.
We are indeed.
But Donald Trump's latest idea for these gold cards, rather than green cards, gold cards, so $5 million. They were like, will Russian oligarchs be allowed? He's like, yeah, I know some very good, I know some very fine Russian oligarchs. But he said, and this is what made me laugh, because he said, when trying to sort of defend it to the press, he sort of went, think about it. He said, look, if we get 10 million people to sign up, which could happen. No, it can't. Like, stop there. 10 million people are going to pay $5 million. 10 million people who aren't already American citizens or have
so they would be
citizens.
Of the extreme wealthy in their own right.
So they would be from, wherever, Europe, Africa, Asia, wherever.
Probably warlords across Africa and places like that.
You think 10 million people have $5 million, not just have $5 million, $5 million that they want to give to you to get access to the US. Why would they want access to the US necessarily? Some of them will, sure, but a lot of them won't.
The only reason they'd want to do it is for the citizenship, and that they might not get taken away back to wherever they've committed crimes.
But he was like, if we get 10 million people to sign up, He said that's $50 trillion. That clears our debt and gives us $15 trillion
Where'd you
to
put
pay
those
with.
10 million people? Do you know?
Yeah, it's all right. The ones on
That's
the boats.
quite a lot of immigration.
It's trouble enough with the ones on the boat. So you want to bring in 10 million.
Yeah. They're having enough
it's all
issues
a joke.
apparently with their local borders, but how about no? Let's just get 10 million rich people and bring them in.
Yeah, it's all a joke anyway. But
Yeah,
I
all
was
of
like,
it is. I mean, let alone the fucking video that's been released of what apparently Cars is going to look like. I mean, it's just fucking grim.
the huge gold statue
Yeah.
of himself. Also, you can tell it was AI. How bad is AI? Why did the belly dancers have beards?
Why not?
Because these are like anti-trans. They definitely don't want any gender fluidity in the Trump administration. But apparently the Arabian belly dancers, it's fine. They can be kind of gender fluid or gender non-specific.
Yeah, but we don't judge them. Do you know what I mean?
We listen and don't judge. Except for Trump, we judge.
Yeah.
We listen, and I honestly wish I couldn't listen. I wish I didn't have to.
Do you like Bill Burr?
I love Bill Burr.
There was a clip of him recently talking about Elon that went far, and I thought a nice way to end it. You might need to turn the volume up on the...
That's up.
Made fun of the fucking Twitter guy for fucking Sieg Heiling not once but twice, and I never look at my emails. I was scrolling through my emails, and it said my Twitter account had been flagged for I don't even tweet anymore. It had been flagged for it. What a fucking baby. Just like Hitler. A fucking baby. How about the fact that the Twitter guy he's not even from here. He's from South Africa. He comes to this country and wants to turn it into a fucking dictatorship. He doesn't feel that we deserve democracy. Can you just imagine doing that? Going to another country and
we did do
just
that.
Deciding, you know what, I'm going to change this form of government because
As a
I've
Brit,
decided.
we get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't mind living under a dictatorship as long as he's on the good side of it. Fucking laminated face cunt. Because that's another thing. All of these people that are into fucking Hitler, you know what I mean? And like look at this guy like he was some sort of fucking hero. The guy's one of the biggest fucking cowards ever. All the pain and all the suffering that guy's caused and the war crimes the Allies had to commit, firebombing fucking cities to get that motherfucker. When it came time for him to pay the price for all the suffering he caused millions and millions and millions of people. Did he face the music? Nope. He gave himself a nice, quick, painless fucking death. That's your fucking hero? Fucking coward is what he was. He should have faced the fucking music.
Don't you think the American people deserve...
That was an autoplay.
I hope it was about to say, don't you think the American people deserve democracy? And Elon just went and...
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot to discuss with Elon and Trump and stuff. But
yeah,
I remember Ash. I think I was talking to Ash once and I said, I really like Bill Burr. And he was like, that surprises me.
It surprises me as well, to be honest.
As a lefty snowflake.
But the thing is, what is great about a comedian like Bill Burr is he takes a controversial issue and he talks you round. And the thing is, I've heard a lot of comedians say, in their opinion, you should be able to leave their show and not actually know what they actually believe about something. A comedian's just trying to do something clever.
I truly believe this in comedy. How offensive something is relative to how funny it is. If it's funny, it's funny.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what it's about, what the topic is, if it's funny, it's funny. However, the problem is a lot of these comedians will say things because they want to be edgy and stuff, and it's it's not that funny. You're just picking on it because it's a controversial
Whereas what someone
topic.
like Bill Burr does
Bill
is
Burr's
they
just
break
funny.
down
He is
something
funny.
controversial and turn it into something that's funny.
Yeah, and he's an example as well. Even though he says a lot of things that, like, there's a lot of people on the right that like Bill Burr because he will do that with controversial topics, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he must be on our side because he's joking about things that you're not meant to joke about." And it's like, actually, no, he's very much a left wing comedian, but he's, you know, which actually shows you that you can actually joke about the things that you think we can't joke about. It's just got to be funny.
Yeah,
and when you do it, it's not funny.
Yeah.
It's that thing, and there's always more left-wing comedians than right-wing comedians because left-wing comedians make fun at those in power, and that's quite empowering. Whereas right-wing comedians make fun of you and me
and people they consider
disabilities or whatever, and it's like that's actually just bullying.
Yeah,
it's very difficult to be like in the UK. I can only think of one.
I can't really. What, Frankie Boyle?
No, Jeff Norcott.
Okay, I've not really...
He considers himself a conservative voter.
I think from what I've listened to with him, and I think he's one of those comedians where he's funnier in a situation, like whether it's on a podcast or on a panel show or something like that, because I've seen him on Have a Word, and he comes across as quite a reasonable guy, but I think he's made himself quite a nice niche of being this comedian.
And also because every time someone wants balance,
they just bring...
He's the one to go.
Yeah.
But he did a bit that always made me laugh and always resonate with me, was when he's talking about doing the housework and selling his missus, and he's like, I don't know why I felt the need to, and she was like, what, do you want a medal or something? And he was like, actually, yeah.
That would be nice.
Like, actually, blokes do. We want recognition for every single thing we do, so... don't talk about gold stars if you're not actually prepared to give them out. Yeah. Like, I do want a gold star for taking out the bins.
That would be really nice.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Bill Burr's right. Like Elon's Hitler is a truly evil, nasty person and a coward. And anyone who supports him, I think genuinely doesn't understand
what that
history.
was.
I don't think they're educated. I don't think you could. I mean, I know there's a lot of evil people in the world, and some people will still support him, but we've discussed before, I genuinely think most people do not. That's why so many of them are Holocaust deniers. I don't believe most people could support someone who would actively kill, maybe 7 or 8 million people, if you take into account all the political prisoners and the Romani gypsies and the gay people and the disabled people on top of the 6 million Jews.
Yeah.
And that's why.
And the lives that were lost in
the war,
as he said, bringing them down.
But I genuinely think that's why there's so many Holocaust deniers, because so many Holocaust deniers amongst that camp, amongst the Nazi camp, because they even in their own morality they can't
back it.
They can't support someone who did that. That's why they're kind of like, well, that obviously didn't happen. Come on, 6 million people. Come on.
Well, I think, and also in their mind, it makes them more socially acceptable, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, bro, I think we've podded. We're at the end.
Yeah, boy.
The time has come. Guys, let us know what you think. It's interesting because I've been talking to Joe, because there was apparently a whole storyline with Phil in EastEnders recently, and it's been a big men's mental health awareness thing.
Sort of vaguely aware of it.
And me and my sister were talking about it, and she said, I think for men, it's not necessarily talking to anyone. You need to be talking to one another. You need to be comfortable with opening up with other men, because they're the ones you can relate to. Like, your partner's all well and good, but you also need to be able to open up and be vulnerable with other men. So I'm glad we've done that today.
No, thank you for opening up.
In no way what I was expecting from this episode.
Not at all. I had a few notes, but we just didn't need them.
I've not talked about a single... We didn't even do the rippers I was planning on doing. We'll have to do that next time. But guys, thank you for listening. You can check out our socials. Jake, point at the screen. You can find us here on Facebook at Crossing Swords, on Twitter at Swords Crossing, on TikTok and Instagram at CrossingSwords_podcast, and you can feed the ponies at CrossingSwords19@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Love you!
Can I just say as well, if you're listening on the other side of the world, depending on when you listen to this,
Good morning.
it might be morning time.
Go on, play me Fortunate Son.
It might be morning time. Are we doing it? Let's sign off. I don't want to get sued.